Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's market color session. My name is Sabi Abi, and I'll be taking the first half of today's analysis, which will be covering commodity currencies, which includes AUD/USD, NZD/USD, and USD CAD. Shortly after which, my colleague is going to come on board and do his analysis on indices, so as 100 US30, and touch a bit on fundamentals. I see a couple of us online. Good morning, good morning. It'd be good to hear from you back. So just leave a message in the chat box. How are we all today? Did we wake up on the right side of the bed? Are we ready to make something from the financial markets today? Good morning, Desmond Obuna, Bites Care, Asafa Sheon, and the rest of us. It is so awesome to see all of us here. Good morning, Moyo. Good to have you here. Before we proceed down into the chat proper, I would like to ask that we please share the link to this market color session with as much people as possible so that more people get to benefit from what we do here at the VFT Academy. These sessions are totally free, so please share the link with somebody, tell a friend to tell a friend. Hi, Kolade, good morning. Oviezino, I greet you. Okay, so let us now look at what the market has in store for us today. I'm going to be starting with USD CAD, and I'll be using one of our strategies at the floor, which is the all-weather strategy, to look at the market and see what we have playing out. Now, during our last analysis, we marked out certain level points that we wanted price to retrace into before we continue the overall move. But for the sake of those of us who were not able to join, I'm going to start a fresh top-down analysis. And I know that not all of us have these indicators on our chart. That's fine. What you want to do is to take note of the zones and the price points that I mark out, so you can now add your own confluence or confirmations to it and take those trades. Now I'm looking at USD CAD from the 4-hour time frame, and the predominant structure we're looking at right now is clearly to the downside, right? So if USD CAD H4 is still selling, what we want to do is to look for good enough zones to continue to sell from, right? So having that in mind, I am now looking at the indicators and I'm looking at what price has done so far. This sunshine indicator we see printed here basically indicates profit taking, signifying to us that people who were selling this market from the beginning all the way down here are taking profit. And what happens when profit taking occurs? We expect retracement or reversals. So bearing that in mind, I'm expecting USD CAD to retrace and then give me a good enough zone to continue to sell from. If we're using naked structure, we'll be looking at targeting liquidity points that price will retrace into so we can continue to sell. And a good perfect zone will be this fair value gap that we have here, right? But now we're looking at indicators. So let us go down to the 1 hour time frame. I'm going to draw out my 1 hour point of interest for where I expect price to retrace into so we can continue to sell this asset class. And you can see that there are some lines already on the chart from our last analysis, and they are still very much valid, except in this case, I'm not going to draw the last or the first point of interest down to this zone in between our momentum indicator. So there are 3 points of interest I'm marking out, points of interest 1, 2, and 3, which are basically 1.37244, 38088, and 38499. These are the points I'm looking at, waiting for price to retrace into so I can continue to sell. Are we together? And before price retraces into the zone, if I see an opportunity to take a retracement trade, by retracement, I mean I'm trading against the overall move. If I see an opportunity to start to buy USD CAD from this zone back into my ideal point of interest, I'm going to take them. But in this situation where I'm taking a retracement trade, I am now going to reduce my usual risk per trade, maybe go halfway through or even 1/4, just to give it enough from 1/3 or 1/4, 1/3, to give it enough room so that if the first trade doesn't go as planned, second entry or third will, right? So yes, this is what I'm looking out for. These are my points of interest. I am now going to go on the slower or the lower time frame to mark out my immediate point of interest, especially for this session or even moving into the next session. And those of us who have been joining will know that those points of interest typically include 4 levels. The first one is yesterday's low. Second one is yesterday's high, right here. The period separators on the chart are what are making it very obvious to draw out. These are the period separators. So yesterday's high and low has been drawn. I'm going to go ahead and draw out day before yesterday's high, which is right here, and day before yesterday's low. Day before yesterday's low, which is right here. Perfect. So now, do you now see that day before yesterday's low happens to have 2 confluents? I'm looking at day before yesterday's low, and I'm looking at the trend. There's a trend. This indicator, the red one we see here, is our trend that attracts price to itself. So it is very possible that price is going to do this. We're looking at USD CAD doing something like this. Come back and trade into the support levels, because these 4 points that we mark out are basically just support and resistance zones. This is a support level. This is a support level that could act as future resistance. This is a resistance zone that could continue to push price down. That's basically what they signify, right? So price could trade back in here, find support, and then buy back all the way to hit the nearest resistance before we continue to see the sell-off. So this is what I'm watching out for. Please take note of this price point as well. When price trades into those levels, we will now look for confirmations and do as we have analyzed so far. I believe this is very clear and understandable to all of us. If it isn't, perfect time to ask question is now. Just type it in the chat box and I'm going to answer all of them at the end of this analysis. So while you're doing that, I'm going to move to the next asset class that I'm looking out for, which is AUD/USD on the H4 time frame. Now, predominantly, when you look at H4 of AUD/USD, you could say it is safe to say that AUD/USD has been selling, right? This is the predominant structure, but we're not looking at most recent price action. Price took out respective levels that could have served as resistance. It's been breaking above and above and above, broke the zone. And let us see, was price able to break above this level? So price traded into the next resistance point, found resistance, and then reacted. So we want to see if price is going to be able to break through this zone. And if it does, All right, so we're now looking at price, this resistance here. Price could now hit resistance here. It did actually, already did, and so down. So if price is able to break through the zone, the next resistance point is going to be trading to is right here. Perfect. So now that I have this in mind, let's go to the H1 time frame and mark out our point of interest. I'm going to delete the lines from the chart so we don't get too confused. They're a bit much, so that we can now draw them from the stats with those of us that are currently online. Okay, so I am marking out 3 points of interest on my H1 time frame. The first point of interest is inside my trend. Second point of interest happens to have 2 confluences, so I'm just going to go ahead and mark it here. Ideally, these are zones, not just price points. Ideally, they are zones, but take note of these levels, and then when price trades around that area, you start to look for confirmations. So what I'm saying on AUD/USD is that I expect it to sell in here, and then we'll continue to buy. Remember, we always want to buy low and sell high. So is it possible that AUD/USD continues to buy from where it is? It is very possible. But would we prefer to buy low on this asset class? Yes, we will. So even if price continues to buy without retracing into our specific entry where we'll be more confident in taking those trades, it is fine. You cannot catch all the moves in the market, right? So let price trade into this zone, and then we'll look for entries. But we can also now go down to the M5 time frame and look for our immediate points of interest for this session moving into the next. And those sessions include 4. Again, very systematic, very repetitive. Yesterday's high, yesterday's low, day before yesterday's high, and day before yesterday's low. The same thing repeated every single time, regardless of the asset class you're looking at. Okay. So I have now drawn out my points of interest. Price has now broken through, it has violated what could have served as resistance around the zone. So what I'm seeing AUD is doing now is it is possible it's going to sell into this trend, because the trend also serves as a support. It's either trades back into the zone or into the other points of interest. And then we are now going to see a final lap that now moves up to break through our H1, the next H1 resistance that we looked at earlier. Zoom out so you can rather zoom in. So you can see that. So if price takes out this zone, it is coming for this level, right? So come back here, give us good entry, and we're going to be buying into the next resistance, and this would be our take profit level. I hope this is clear. Okay, so now we're going to look at the third asset class that I look at, which is NZD/USD. Remember, our focus for today is commodity currencies and indices. So NZD/USD being the final asset class I'll be looking out for before my colleague comes on board to wrap this session up. Okay. As usual, starting from H4. Now, looking at NZD/USD on the H4, price has been predominantly to the upside. It's been buying since January. It bought, sold sometime in March, and then continued overall move to the upside. Now, Sunshine has been printed. What does that indicate? Profit taking of this entire move has occurred. I'm expecting retracement. Sunshine has printed. I'm expecting retracement. But retracement into what level, you may ask? First level is here. The second level I'm looking at is somewhere around this zone. And then the third level is here. So these are now the 3 points of interest that I'm watching out for. I'm expecting price to retrace into the zones, and then we will start to look for buys of this particular asset class. I'm not really understanding. I understand that. And that's why I asked that you take note of these price points. I might assume you joined a bit late. That's fine. So take notes. This is what you should be watching out for. Not all of us have these indicators. Very understandable. This is solely for our FX bootcamp students, and they are the ones that have these indicators. So you using Naked Charts, pay attention to these points: 0.60031, 0.59688, 0.59490. These are the levels you're watching out for on your Naked Charts. When price trades into this on NZD/USD, look for more confirmations depending on how you trade and take those entries. I'm going to show you my own confirmation as well. Are we together, sir? Is that clear, Mr. Benjamin?
Yes, it's clear now. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so on the M5 time frame, I'm now going to mark out the next point of interest on the lower time frame that I'm watching out for. This is day before yesterday that has been marked out using the crosshair so you can get the exact price point. That is 0.60543. Then I am looking out for the next point of interest, which is day before yesterday's low. And that is somewhere between 0.59900 and 59815. And then my third and fourth point of interest are now here, yesterday's high and yesterday's low. So at this point, once I've drawn this, ideally, what I just do is just go about my day, right? I'm not going to be stalking the chart to see what it does. I'm just going to keep it there. If you've seen the insides of the trading floor, you know that there are multiple screens that you could just leave while you go about other things. Or you could also set alerts at this price point, and when price trades into that zone, you can then start to look for confirmations to take those trades. So price violated what could have served as a resistance around 0.60381. That has done that, and it is coming to retrace. So I am looking at NZUSD doing this. Come back into our trend line. If it comes back in here, find support, we will now see that final lap that does this, trades into the zone, and then continues to the upside. Find the hindrance here because of the resistance point that has been marked out. But if it happens to break through the zone, then it is going to continue the buy of NZUSD continuously to the upside. And if support is not found around the zone, that is why we have the other points of interest. So every line you see marked out is just basically a support level that we've marked out saying, come in here, you give me confirmation that this level is going to hold, I'm going to start buying. And that's why we don't just set pending limits around this zone because we just want it to get triggered. No, there are levels we're watching out for. So when price gets there, we look for confirmation entries first. And when we see that, we take advantage of our analysis so far. So that is pretty much it for these three asset classes that I'm looking out for today. Do we have any high impact news coming out in the course of today? I'm going to take a quick look at Forex Factory, just so I am not caught off guard, right? You don't want to be caught in the middle of a news release you were not prepared for. So let me take a quick look at Forex Factory, share my screen so you can also see it. Today is the perfect. So today is the 6th, right? Thursday, the 5th. Today is the 5th. And we have unemployment claims coming out by 1:30 p.m. on the dollar. I paid attention to USD only because the asset classes I looked at are dollar correlated pairs. But we also have other high impact news coming out on the euro, main refinancing rate, monetary policy, ECB press conference. These are all high impact news. I'm going to be paying more attention to USD for the sake of the asset classes that I looked out for, and also be careful so that I am not caught in the middle of any FU move, frustrating move, take out sellers, take out buyers. Okay, so I believe this has been helpful to us. Mr. Prince said USD JPY, please. Okay, sir. So I believe this is maybe the first time you're joining. What we do is we have different days for different asset classes that we analyze. And today we're looking at commodity currencies and indices. On Mondays, we look at USD JPY, gold. Tuesdays, we look at commodity currencies again. Wednesdays, we look at likes of GBP USD, Euro USD, and the likes of it. So tomorrow, or Monday, the next analysis session, we may look at that because if we want to look at all the asset classes, the time may not be enough. I hope you understand, sir. Okay, so without taking too much more of our time, my colleague is going to come do his analysis on indices and share his perspective with us and give us some insights on what we see or what he sees indices doing in the course of today. Thank you so much for joining and giving me your attention so far. Do not go anywhere. We'll be back shortly. Cheers and God bless.
Good morning and welcome back to the second part of the Market Scholar. How are we doing today, ladies and gentlemen? How's been your trading week so far? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and today is Thursday. Has been your trading week. Hope we are getting and securing the bag. And if you're not securing the bag, hope your bag is not leaking. All right. Good morning. Good morning. And this second part of the market color, we usually look at the US markets. That's US 30, NAS 100, and also S&P 500. Right. Looking at what those markets are doing and how we can take advantage of opportunity in that market. All right. A lot has been going on. In fact, we even had some area that we marked out on the charts, but interestingly, markets reacted off areas before then, and then it has rallied so far. We've seen that rally to the upside. Quite interesting, you know. This market keeps unfolding and unfolding, right? So let me share my screen and then we can start properly. All right. I'm seeing some messages. Okay, sorry, Lua. Good morning. Okay, US 30. US 30 is doing the Lord's work. On the daily time frame, we can see that we are very, very much what? Bullish, right? We are bullish and we've maintained that position for quite some time now, right? It started to shake. That was on Tuesday because Trump was trying to rattle the entire market again with tariff conversation, but then that's corrected to the upside, and we're seeing that the market is beginning to push to the upside, right? Which is quite significant. Fundamentally speaking, in terms of sentiment in the market, investors are very optimistic. And why did I know? How do I know that? Look at your fear index, which is VIX. Look at VIX. VIX is strongly what's it called now? Oversold, and I still expect it to keep tanking to the downside, right? So if VIX is at this level, 17.52 point, that means that investors are truly optimistic in the market. If for any reason we see a strong reversal to the upside, then we should know that investor confidence in this market is beginning to do what? Is beginning to tank, right? And then you can see also on XAU USD hasn't created any new high yet. It's been struggling around a particular level for quite some time, right? Showing that there's no new, value or there's no value movement into the asset class yet strongly, right? Okay, let's look at the market on the daily time frame. Again, we are very, very much bullish. Price is yet to break lows. Instead, we've been creating multiple highs, right? Which is quite interesting. We're creating multiple highs, and of course, this is the market. This year and this year, price keeps creating multiple high. What is the next zone I expect price to break? Price has to break this, right? So for me, I want to see something like this. This morning, a break of this level, right? Retest, and then what? Boom. To the upside. That's what I'm expecting this morning, technically speaking, because I mean, what other thing can price do? Because from this zone, we are very, very much bullish. We are very, very much bullish. And then if we see exact thing like this, best believe we are going to go and clear all of this, right? All of this that's been this liquidity. This is like a double top, right? Double top, also showing that there's enough liquidity in this market, right? Let me align it properly. Okay, you can see clearly like a double top, right? So if we see price break to the upside, which I'll be looking carefully this morning, I'll be watching out for carefully this morning, then we would expect that we, in a way, begin our rally to the upside. All right, on the 4-hour time frame, what are we saying? On the 4-hour time frame, price is reacting off from this level. Okay, not really off from this level yet. Let me mark this out. Okay, let me mark this out. We can see a retest of this zone again, right? Price can come all the way down to this zone. However, also we should be mindful that this is a fair value gap. Price is reacting off from 50% of this fair value gap, right? This fair value gap here, price is reacting off 50% from this fair value gap. So we most likely might not see a tap into this level again since it's reacting off. And look at the candle print, right? So although this other block is looking like it's going to hold, but I doubt this is not so significant and to cause that push to the downside again, right? So on the 2-hour time frame, let's look if there's something really interesting there for us to take note of. My apologies. My network is still loading. All right, thank you. Okay. So nothing really for now on this chart. For me, I'm going to mark out this area, this entire area, and then see how New York is going to react off this area, right? For me, I want to see something like this. Probably the market is going to move like this, break structure, and then come back for it to start picking to the upside. So I'll wait for this rally to the upside. I want to see how it's going to happen. Let me see on the 1-hour time frame. I want to see what's going to happen with this rally to the upside, right? So price might push to the upside a bit, and then New York open, we see a retracement back, and then pick this order to start pushing again. That's one scenario in this market. But just know today, I'm very, very bullish on US30. I'm bullish on across board, right? I'm bullish on US30 and also the rest of the pair. It's just to compare them side by side, which one will initiate the rally, right? Why order is going to lead. All right, that being said, let's move quickly to US 100 and see what's happening there. On US 100, as you can see on the daily time frame, we are extremely bullish. We are bullish. Price reacted off from this fair value gap. For those that can remember, I mentioned something about this fair value gap. That was, I think, last week, if I'm not mistaken, last week, Thursday, where I said that there's a box pattern here. This is a classic box pattern, but then we're not looking for a sell, right? But then look at what market did. If you mark out this entire area, this zone, you saw, what did we see? This is the first one. This is the second one, right? This fair value, there's a fair value gap here. This is the shoulder, a break to the downside. What happened? Price tapped into this fair value gap and did what? Sold off, right? I mentioned this last week, but I said we are not looking for a sell. Instead, we're looking for buys in this market because as it stands now in 2025, you don't want to trade against President Trump. Your account will feel the pressure. Your account balance will maybe, in fact, you might not even have any other account again, right? So we don't want to counter trend, especially when trading on assets like US30, also US 100. The market is very bullish. But then look at what is happening. We saw a tank from this zone. Might give us even 1:2 or 1:2.5 risk to reward, but it's fine. We anticipated it. And then what is happening? Price is going back to fill all of this. I believe strongly this level is not going to hold again. Instead, we're going to see a rally to the upside, right? So let's look at the 4-hour time frame. If there's something significant there on the 4-hour time frame, interesting. So for me, let me delete all of this. For me, I want to see a break of this structure. I want to see like a box pattern failure, right? So price breaking through this zone, all right? Price breaking through structure here, and then retesting off of a fair value gap, a flip zone from this zone for it to continue to the upside. All right, I want to see that price action break to the upside, clear, obvious, no any confusion as to whether it's a break of structure or not. Not even a weak break of structure. I want to see a candle, a bullish candle close above, right? And then price testing a fair value gap and other block in 15 minutes or 30-minute time frame for me to start pushing to the upside. That would be a very strong, buy for me, a strong rally to the upside for me. All right, for those asking, what's a flip zone? It's like a support turn resistance, right? And that zone you can look at for other blocks. You can look at for fair value gap, inverted fair value gaps, and then take advantage of that to the upside. All right, on the 1-hour time frame, is there anything significant? No. Currently price is reacting off from this other block, and I believe it's going to fail. I strongly believe this other block is going to fail, right? So I want to see it happen first. We don't work with imagination, we work with what price action gives, and then take advantage of whatever it is we are anticipating, right? So I have this happening. I also want to mark out this zone again, this, because this is like a breaker block. Let me not use this one. Instead, let me use a box, mark it out correctly. Okay, we're watching out for this. All right, there's this like a breaker block on the 1 hour time frame. I want to see how once price has broken through, a retest of this zone, and then that will give me more confirmation to the upside. All right, so those are what I'm looking out for today in the market. The rest, I'll just be using them for correlation's sake. That's S&P 500. Usually, I used to say, if you have a trading view premium, or let's even leave trading view premium on your MT5, MT4, just stack your charts together, US 30, US 100, S&P 500, right? And because with that, you can now make more informed decisions, saying that you have your eyes on all the three pairs to see which one moves first, and then you can use correlation analysis to take advantage of that move on the other two assets. All right, thank you so much for joining. It's a good place to ask a question. If you have a question, if you have any question, Ashafashion, Ayuba, Ashafashion, it's been a long time. Benjamin Chikaso, apologies if I didn't get that name correctly. Cleve, Ezekiel, James, Godwin, Jacob, Joseph, Kolade Mangot. It's been a while, sir. Moyosurilua, I greet you. Oh, Vizino, good morning. Peter Ayobami, Prince Daniel, user, how you doing, sir? Wanne Ebi, good morning to you. It's a good place to ask a question. S&P 500 analysis. Okay, and it's also almost the same thing with what we have on US 100, right? That's why I didn't even bother to, do any analysis on that. Also, look at it here. We are waiting for this. Of course, on US 100, it has broken its own high. However, on S&P 500, it's yet to break its high. So what we are waiting for is to see that break above, right? That break above. If price breaks above here violently, then we expect that it's going to retest this zone. Let me explain what I mean by that. Yeah. Okay, look at this. Say price breaks above here violently, any of this level, you can retest this, but you can come down to this zone and then continue, right? Because this will be like a breaker block being violated. All right, so that's like for S&P 500. And like I said, I'll just be analyzing, aligning the chart side by side so that I see which one moves first, and then take advantage of that to the upside. All right. Thank you so much for the question. I'm seeing some other comments. What about US 30? We've done the analysis on US 30. We started with US 30 this morning. So you can just watch the replay on YouTube. I started with US 30 before I moved to US 100. And finally, Moyosurilua reminded us of S&P 500, which we've done. All right, thank you so much. Again, we'll be meeting by 2 p.m. That's New York session. It's just to reconfirm this analysis and to check if there are any, difference or significant change in the market, so that we can align our trade setup to the new idea market. Thank you so much for joining. Ensure you use proper risk management in your trading. As you know, we always say on the trading floor, if it's not obvious, it's dubious. Meaning, if you don't see your analysis, don't take trade. Staying out of it, even a trade is also a position in the market. No trade is also a position, meaning you have your cash on hold and you're waiting for opportunities, good and better opportunities, so that you can leverage those cash to make money. Because if you throw out around your cash on low quality trade setup, it will affect your equity curve in the long run. All right, thank you so much for joining this morning. We meet again by 2 p.m. in the afternoon. My name is Demola Global, and see you. Thank you. Cheers and God bless.